bitching and backbiting, sex and violence, just a light-hearted look behind the scenes of American TV in about half an hour in Studio 5B. First on BBC Two, from Leeds, the final stop for Ebony on the Road.
Leeds, capital of the North. Black Leeds is...
Theatre company.
It's my roots month, I mean, you must love it.
Yeah, this is where all the excitement is. If you go out to Chapel you're just bored. This is where the excitement is.
Yeah, this is the Playboy on WYBC. We're young, black and conscious.
All right, yeah, man, Leeds is all right. Leeds is a friendly place to come.
Hello to you from Leeds.
Yeah!
Thank you, Leeds. Today we're in Chapeltown, and this, I'm sorry to say, is our last on-the-road journey this summer.
In the programme this week, we'll be talking with Leeds people who've started a preventative anti-drugs campaign. And we've got a fantastic interview with Lenny Henry.
We also have the last of our on-the-road view of where black music is going to into the 1990s. We also have a local band, Royal Blood and Stone Roots. You could say reggae from the ground up.
Now, you must have noticed how black faces and places are now in vogue on the commercial advertising scene. Well, we talked to some of the people directly involved in the business.
The advertising industry has been criticised for its stereotypical portrayal of black people. Although now the number of black faces in mainstream advertisements is increasing, has the message changed?
Rather than change substantially, it's shifted its ground somewhat. For example, the previous sort of stereotypes or the previous things that people picked up on were either things to do with black people being musicians or sportsmen, or they referred to their colour. And in the past you had things like, you know, shoe polish or bleach or soap and things referring to the colour of black people, and it was so overtly offensive. Whereas now you may not get that, yet you still get constant references to colour, like in the Southern Comfort advertisement, in Benetton, and in, say, the Lucasade one.
Very positive images of black people don't appear. I mean, you don't have a black guy driving from, say, Germany to Paris to goodness knows where else in his Audi Quattro. Because black people aren't seen in that kind of role. What's apparent is the absence of upmarket images of black people. Not so much a question about the image of the people that are actually being portrayed now. If there were a lot more upmarket images of black people, then I doubt that there would be much question about the way that people are portrayed currently.
Advertisers generally tend to tell lies, well-constructed lies. Now, it's not good to you or to anyone else or to any other black person if they use other black people as Trojan horses in order to put over their lies. There's an advert about Southern Comfort, which is a damn strange advert, I must say, where, you know, people, the catchline is who you're mixing with, which I'm sure every black person, as well as white, should be deeply offended by that advert. You know, I mean, they're going into a black neighborhood, young white fella goes into a black neighborhood, and of course, everybody looks as if the Third World War started because it's a black neighborhood. They're all wearing bib and brace and cleaning cars and looking pretty down. He goes in and picks up the prettiest woman in the whole place with, you know, I mean, I don't know how they can go ahead and do that and still think that it doesn't offend.
I think it's surprising that guidelines aren't already in existence in terms of, say, the representation of minority groups or whatever. But I don't really know that it's going to create any great change.
The guidelines that we produced about 2 years ago aim to encourage photographers, advertisers, writers indeed, to portray a more balanced view of Africa and indeed other developing parts of the world. People, as a result of those guidelines, now question what a picture of a starving child will actually convey to people. And they realise that if you show those kind of demeaning images, that black people are then thought of as poverty-stricken, as useless, and that's not a good thing.
I'm not in favour of just putting black people in an ad just because, you know, we ought to have some kind of quota of black people in advertising. I think you ought to use people naturally within the situations which they're actually in. I'd be very disappointed if somebody felt that by putting a black person in the background of a banking ad that somehow their issues were being catered for. I'm much more interested, as a black person myself, in people taking issues very seriously and dealing with those issues, rather than throwing a couple of people in there and saying that this somehow solves the issue.
Advertising is very much a mirror held up to society. It reflects society as it is. A good example of that is the depiction of women. Women's place in society has changed enormously over the last 10, 15 years, and that's been reflected in advertising. And ditto with black people. Their position, their role in society is changing, and it's right that it should change, and that will be reflected and is being reflected in advertising.
But some people might argue with you that the only images we see of black people in advertising are as sportsmen and musicians, and black people are not all sportsmen and musicians.
Well, I don't think that's true, actually. There's a lot of advertisements that feature black people, particularly advertising that is specifically directed at ethnic communities in our big towns and so forth. And the images there are very wide and varied. I think this idea that they're always musicians and cricketers and so forth, I think is not actually the reality of things.
Ought the advertisers to take more responsibility for how they portray black people?
The danger of putting a black person in an unrealistic situation is you're actually communicating a message. And the message may well be, this is something for black people, it is not something for white people. So there is a sense in which if you cast black people wrongly, you can actually blunt the selling message and destroy the whole purpose of advertising.
Advertisements clearly do show, give some offence, as our film reflects.
I don't think they do, because if you look at the complaints received by the Advertising Standards Authority and the complaints received by the IBA, and they are the regulatory agencies, you won't find this issue features very prominently. All I would say to people is if they feel that advertisements are causing offence, they should complain. The agencies are there, the rules are there, and they should use the rules.
Hi, welcome to London's fastest growing dating agency.
Hello, my name's Jermaine. I'm 6 foot, a Pisces, and I'm looking for my ideal woman. Dear Miss Box number 583CR, I think you are my ideal woman.
One of the real rewards about going on the road has been our focusing on some great local bands. Now in Chapeltown we found another super sound. The brothers Stone Roots and the sisters Royal Bloods. Can I get a witness? Yeah!
loving, cause you know you're the best. I'm that cook food. Got daddy use. Try a little thing we and we family. Jaja, we love you. We love the things you do for we. And as I grow within your loving, oh Jaja, yeah, you mean the world to me. The things I would do for you, honey. The things I would do for your honey. The things I would do for you, honey. The things I would do for your honey. The things I do just to get close to you. I spend my time on you, making it right. Oh, baby, I would do the things that you want me to. I know you're dependent, yeah, and choosing right. The things I would do for you, honey. The things I would do for your honey. The things I would do for you, honey. The things I would do for your honey, baby, yeah.
What type of woman do you like? Basically, I like the type of woman that can show me respect, that I could trust. Someone who I could share things with, who I could protect.
Tolerant, understanding, cook, clean. She should have ambition.
You know, wanting something out of life, having an aim, and going for that aim.
I don't like a woman just like want to lay about the place and do nothing.
If she hasn't got the money and she has the love to give to me, well, it's cool.
If a woman wants to form an immediate sexual relationship with me, then I'm going to be kind of dubious about her. Because she should want to wait.
She cooks, she washes.
I haven't come across a white woman in all my years of life that I could say, yeah, that's the kind of woman for me.
I can see myself with a Chinese woman. Any kind of woman. Woman's a woman, do you know?
Have I found my ideal woman? Yeah.
I have to sit on the fence on that question.
Still looking.
Not so long ago, the term black humor meant silly or cruel jokes. Lenny Henry has brought a whole new meaning to the phrase black humor, based on his British black experience. What do you think of Lenny Henry?
I like his humor. I think he's very talented. I'm not so keen on the clothes.
Not so keen on his clothes, eh?
From an Afro-Caribbean point of view, he's the #1 entertainer in the country.
All right. Well, watch this as Martin gets personal with Lenny. You know what I mean, Guy? Well, wicked.
You've seen Lenny Henry cut gags on TV. You've seen him being serious for comic relief in Mandela. Now for something even more crucial and wicked. Me, Lenny Henry, and some deep black reasoning. Lenny, to start with your school days, you were a minority at your school, basically.
That's right. There's about me and two other black guys in the whole school, and maybe an Asian guy. And then when we moved to the secondary school, that's when I first started to meet a few other black guys. There were about 4 or 5 of us in the whole school. It was bizarre.
Did it help form the basis of your comedy?
I'm writing a new show now, and a lot of my early experiences seem to be informing it, and there seems to be a lot of alienation coming out in the fact that I was so isolated as a child, as a teenager and stuff. And I think, although I didn't encounter much racism, I really felt as if I was always the one who was a bit of a joker, and, you know, that can be taken in different ways. You know, it can be, oh, he's a great laugh, and it's always, oh, well, let's laugh at him because he's the black guy. You know, let's leave him behind, kind of thing. So I had that kind of experience, really, but I didn't really have overt racism. It was just like lots of little things, and so I tend to use a lot of that in the comedy that I'm using now. You know.
Well, at what point did you feel that, you know, I've arrived, I'm hard, I'm large, basically. I've got some
I'm serious.
Yeah.
I'm
wicked.
totally crucial.
Yeah.
Sort of near the last series of Two of a Kind, I was really pleased because we had a show that was mainstream. It was on Saturday night at 8 o'clock, and it was non-sexist and non-racist. And the standard of the material was consistent, it was high. And I was another performer in it. I wasn't the black guy in it, although, you know, I was. But, you know, at no time, I could have played any character. I played the lead, I played the guy from Brideshead Revisited. I could play any character in Three of a Kind, and it wasn't a big deal that I was black. It was great. And if I wanted to play a black character, I chose to say, oh, let's do a Rastafarian policeman, let's do a reggae politician, let's do this, let's do that. So it was, you know, it was good, and I was involved for the first time in a decision-making process. You know, I could actually say, oh, let's do something like this, and people would listen, as opposed to saying, oh, shut up.
Who's your audience?
I don't know. It was a lot of white people at first. The majority of my audience was white people, because they'd see me on television doing impressions of white people and making darky jokes when I was 16, 17, whatever. And I became aware of this in about 1980 or something, and I wanted to change it, so we've talked about this before. So I changed my act. Slowly but surely, more and more black people are becoming aware of the kind of material I do. And I used to despair, why aren't they coming to see me? But it was because that they were, I think people didn't want to be insulted when they came to the gig, you know, or they didn't want to be offended by the material. And I became very, very aware of that. And I got most of the material out, and then when I met Dawn, she realised, she told me that there was still more material that had to come out because it just wasn't right. It wasn't the right attitude. And if I was going to change, and if I was going to be, you know, if I was going to be the comedian that I wanted to be, the kind of comedian that I admired, then I was going to have to, even if it was a really, really funny joke, I was going to have to lose it and get on the case and do some more intentional material, stuff that made people go, yeah, that's right, that's good, Len.
So it's done quite aware of a black perspective.
Yeah, they're no muss. I used to do a whole set about, I used to talk about warehouse parties and the riots and about racism and stuff like that and police brutality and all that kind of thing. But as I get older, I find that I want to say that stuff. I don't want Delbert to say that. I don't want Deacons to say that stuff. I want to say it because it's maturity. I think the older you get, the more able you feel to make a political statement or to make a socio-political statement. The more able you think, oh, well, I don't need any masks, I can do this myself, you know.
But do you have like a sackload of mail from women saying, oh, Lenny, what a wonderful guy, he's really, man, I'd like to be with and stuff like that?
What is going on in your mind? I'm a married man.
Oh, yes, we're aware of that, but I mean, taking you in your comedy sort of role.
I don't know. I don't know. You'll have to ask some girls.
To talk more about the general roles you've done.
Did you ask Grace Jones these questions? You're lucky you've still got a head.
She asked me.
Pisces, Virgo, Scorpio, Leo,
For black music, the 90s will see more of what's gone on before. Less of the lounge lizard male and laid-back female, and a move towards further fusions of categories. So, liberals, eat your hearts out, because while the new jack swing becomes the new pop, leaving pop to become passé, soul will see the return of the macho man, slam dancing and the sex symbol that sweats. What about control?
As far as control is concerned, I feel that it's quite important that more black people ought to get on the other side of the business, if you like. You know, at the moment there's a perspective that black people are good entertainers, but not necessarily competent at the business end of things.
What I look for is the day when black artists, through their management, say to their agents, we need to see offers from black companies in terms of our tours. I mean, we're not asking for favors. We're here to do business, and all we want is for agents to tell us when these acts are about to tour, and so we can make an offer like everybody else on those tours. Because when you talk about a black cultural struggle and you talk about black people getting hold of the means of production and doing things themselves, we're not going to do it without the support of the artists. And if all the artists believe that they can't do it with their own people, well, we're fighting a losing battle.
Meanwhile, the world will come to recognize world music as more than exotica. Purchase African music by the busload as the new music of the 90s, and in turn, turn roots music like reggae back to its former glory with a fresh perspective. The women will come on strong, break barriers in jazz, rap and reggae, and anywhere else where the sexist rhetoric survives, leaving the men to catch up in a continuous revival of consciousness. Together, they'll make black music beat bad into the 90s, and as ever, never repeat itself, merely look back for its future. The revolution rolls on from here.
Now, Nazarene, what do you think of the men's idea of the ideal woman?
When they talk about being honest and sensitive, those two things are important. But then the men need to have those qualities to be ideal as well.
I heard that. Now, we've all been bombarded with the fatal attraction propaganda on the drug crack. The drug that Jesse Jackson so aptly described as a short-term thrill but a long-term chill. Well, one black initiative seems to have heeded the message and moved to block the threat of crack and other hard drugs before it devastates the local community. But what exactly are they taking on?
Paranormal.
Clement Iris, splendid track, Leave the Drugs Alone. Yeah, and for all your listeners out there who are interested in the anti-drugs campaign, everyone later on in the month of September. But meanwhile, listen to this.
What the campaign aims to do is to make families more aware of what hard drugs can do to people's life, make school children, make everybody in the whole community more aware of what hard drugs can actually do to them, and the effect it can have on everybody's life, and how it can destroy the community.
Can't believe this. Just can't believe you. It's not like you to deal in this kind of stuff. All Mum and Dad safe to find out.
If you don't teach some people about how hard drugs can affect their lifestyle and affect them as individuals and other people, then there's no way that they're going to do anything about it. They'll just experiment and they'll try it, see it's wrong, and before you know it, they can't turn back because they've got so far into it. And to me, this campaign is to help them just to show them how it can affect them before they actually get into it.
Yeah, some excellent sounds there. Now moving on to the great sounds of De La Soul on the Big Life record label. Track entitled Say No Go. I remember you people, one smoke and the brother chokes.
Nah, no my brother, no my sister, time to get hip to this. Word to the mother, I'll tell the truth, so bear my witness.
If the campaign is successful and we manage to push out the availability of drugs, well, hard drugs in the community, I guess it's possible that some dealers would probably be very unhappy about that, because obviously we're taking away, or we may take away, a very substantial income. That obviously will make certain dealers probably very unhappy, and confrontation may or may not occur, and if it does, you know, we will have to deal with it, and we are aware of the consequences. The issue is so serious that, you know, as people who care about the community, we really don't have any choice.
But I'd rather know a shover than a pusher, cause a pusher's a jerk.
Succotash is a meal for kids that make cash, selling drugs to the brother man instead of the other man. Brother than sister! I'm talking about...
Hard drugs is one of the biggest things that destroys community, and it affects the black community very strongly because we have the people who use black unemployed youths or black people to distribute the drugs. They're the ones who get into trouble, they're the ones who suffer, and on a whole, nobody really cares. And I think it's about time that we as a black collective work together to stop people destroying us as black people.
So, Yvette, you're a campaign member. Why the sudden interest in this situation? Is it all the publicity that Crack has had that has frightened you into starting the campaign?
It's not a sudden interest, and it's not a matter of being frightened, it's a matter of being concerned. A number of us work with young people in the area at the Mandela Centre, the Palace Community Centre, and they've come to us and talked about their fear of their friends and families. The encounters with hard drugs, crack and cocaine, is getting more and more frequent. And we felt that we needed to get together and do something about it because, like a cancer, if you leave it, it's going to grow and it's going to be too late.
What is your experiences of drugs within the community? Is there a very serious problem that's happening here with...
I wouldn't say there's a serious problem. What I'd say is that, as anything else, progress, it's taking its time to come up here. We are finding a few instances of it, right? And as with the drug campaign, we're trying our best to keep it as out of our community as possible.
What about police intervention?
Where the police should come in is not so much coming into the area and trying to find the people, if you like, on the receiving end, but look at those further up, the organised syndicates who actually do supply these kind of drugs and bring them in, and who do actually filter it into the community. I think usually the police start at the end of the whole thing, if you like, rather than getting to where the source is coming from. And I think from that point of view, they can do a better job dealing with it from that level.
You're saying it's really the community that should help to stamp it out, but the police should look for the organised, say, drug dealers who are actually the ones who are bringing it in bulk into the community.
That's right.
I don't think anyone would even stop the police if they came in the community for someone that they knew were dealing crack and cocaine. But if they came in and treat them as humans as well, because, okay, they're doing something wrong and we don't agree with it, but on the other hand, we're not going to stand by and see people hauled out like animals and kicked around as well.
The campaign is obviously there to try and stamp out, to inform youths of the area. Do you see people running to join the campaign, or do you think you're going to have to persuade them? What's the situation going to be there?
I think, especially as we've said, hard drugs, I don't think there'll be a problem to get people to come, because I think there's a lot of people that realise that, seen on the television what's happening in America. We've got contacts in London, in Liverpool, about what's happening in Liverpool and how quick it can change daily.
So you're actually networking with other communities that are starting their own campaign?
Yeah.
Too often when there's a problem in people's communities, they tend to sit back and say, we'll let this association deal with it, we'll let this authority deal with it. But I think the time has come when complacency can't be to the fore now, and that we have to do something about it for ourselves and for our people, for our youth.
Seriously, please don't touch the crack. Well, I guess that's the end of the road.
Any special places you can think of we can go for the next series?
How about Manchester?
Manchester? That's good, we haven't been there.
Any burning issues you think we should cover next time around?
I think we should cover the police, I think, you know what I mean?
Well, watch out for that in the near future.
Yeah.
Well, there are just two opinions. If you have any different ideas, why don't you write to us at Ebony, BBC Pebble Mill, Birmingham B5 7QQ. That's Ebony, BBC Pebble Mill, Birmingham B5 7QQ.
Okay, and we'll be in London for the Notting Hill Carnival in a couple of weeks' time.
Bye!
See you in London!
Later!
And the Notting Hill Carnival is in fact this bank holiday weekend, with BBC Two's live coverage on Monday.
Break your heart, yes. Lonesome Sue, she's in love with old Sam. Taking from the fire to the frying pan on that dawn. She just keeps on trying, and she smiles when she give me love, no no squeezing. You know want to give me.
Musical Culture Bank Holiday Monday on 2.